All right, so hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the Man Cave once again on the Morning Star Drive. Today we have another awesome episode. Of course, we have Julius over there in Australia, and we have Dude Bro over there in Minnesota joining us. I hope you guys are having an amazing and awesome week. Today we're going to go into kind of a serious topic, serious, but not so much talking about the seriousness of it. Is kind of how do we deal with these types of difficult situations, and of course we know what I'm talking about. What happened 2023 in March? It was like the Netflix documentary came out on the 3rd, and then on the 12th, it was like AJ doing that leaders meeting, and then all that confusion and everything just kind of exploded, right? So yeah, that's gonna be today's topic. So let's get into it, right? So who wants to start? Chris, Dude Bro, or Julius? Which one? How many of you guys something in your mind? Let's start off with, what was your first impression when it happened?
First, I'm a little bit distracted because Julius is wearing what we in Minnesota wear when it's the dead of winter, and you're in Australia.
Is it
Yeah,
spring?
well, I'm in Melbourne actually. It's winter over here. We're in the middle of winter.
Oh, it's
So Melbourne
winter.
gets far
But there's
cold.
no.
Yeah.
But there, are you serious? It gets
Yeah.
colder.
Yeah, Melbourne is not a warm place.
How
Oh,
cold is it
Yeah.
right now?
Today I think it's all right. It's like between 5 and 8
Oh
degrees.
wow, that's cold. That's really cold.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know what that. I don't
Like
know what that is in. That's like 45. It's under 50 right now.
oh.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Well,
really
it's
cold.
gotten warm actually. It was this morning was 9 degrees. Now it's warmed up actually. It's now like 10, 11. But 2 days ago, it was like down to 2 and 1 degree in the
Yeah,
early
we're
mornings.
we're in completely different
Yeah.
hemispheres. So like here in Vancouver, it's about 27 right now because it's summer.
Yeah, 5
Right.
is 41.
Yeah.
Hmm.
5 is 41.
What's the
Yeah.
temperature over there in Minnesota? It's got to be. It's not bad.
Oh, we're having a heat wave. It's gonna be like 100 degrees this coming week. But right now, it's getting cooler at night, so it's
Oh,
like
that's good.
60.
Okay. You need to
Minnesota is
talk to
kind of
us. You
like
need to
desert,
talk to the
right?
rest of the world in Celsius, bro. No one else understands Fahrenheit except the Americans.
Can you tell us what to subtract?
Well, it's Fahrenheit
What is
is
it?
well, Fahrenheit to
It's
Celsius,
not.
zero
It's
is
a.
32. So 32 Celsius,
Mm.
32 Fahrenheit is 0 Celsius.
That's the
And then
only
for
metric that makes sense.
and then
There's no
everything,
math equation.
yeah. And then there's every degree is 1.6, I believe. So it's 32 plus 1.6 times whatever the Celsius is.
I just don't understand why.
Well, it's an American thing, bro. I don't understand it either. It's kind
We're
of
better
like,
than everybody else, and everybody else needs to conform to our ways.
that's true. That is so true. I agree with you. Yeah. My Canadian sarcasm is going strong right now.
One day.
So, what was your first impression, guys? First impression of what happened in March?
What happened in March?
Either Netflix and then, oh, come on, bro. Forget it. Let's start off with Julius. Let's start off with Julius.
Well, that's a good way to go about it, I think. Sometimes it's good to forget.
Yeah, it's good to have
But
a review,
anyways,
actually. We had
Huh?
Netflix,
on
and then we had Joan. Which one
Yeah.
came first?
Netflix was a third,
right.
and then
Well,
Joan was a
yeah, we
12th.
were.
Joan
Yeah.
kicked it off, right?
No,
No?
no, no. Joan was a 12th.
Well, we were waiting for the Netflix to come out,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
remember
we
hearing
had
about
like
Joan
news
first.
about it.
No, Netflix was a 3rd of March. That came out first, and then Joan was in on the 12th.
Okay.
All right, guys. You guys, if you don't believe me on this, we're just going to cut this man cave right here. You don't think I got the facts straight when I've been working on this for like 6 months?
Well, like I remember, like the guys were praying, we were like doing some prayer condition, and like we got on the Zoom call, and one of the other dudes who was saying at church, how somebody had said that, um, you know, Pastor John had, yeah, AJ had was accusing Samson and all this,
Uh,
and there was information that had been confirmed about church
mm,
embezzling church money, and like at that time I was kind of like, okay, dude, this is crazy. Let's just see. Let's just wait and see
mm,
if it's true. Yeah, because it
right,
was like that was the first time I heard actually what the rumors were. Before
right.
then, I just knew there were some rumors going around, but then when I heard that was the rumor, it was too wild. So I was like, yeah, let's just wait. But it kind of made me it shocked me. It did shock me
Mm,
that that was like the rumor. And I just thought, it can't be true. So let's see. Somebody's making something up to attack her,
uh,
probably. Yeah, so we'll wait a bit more and then we'll see what happens. Yeah.
mm,
And then I saw a portion of that um video she released.
right,
Um, but it wasn't translated. And then
right,
somebody translated what was said.
right.
And then at that time I was just in shock. Yeah, that she said that.
How long were you in shock for?
And um from that news, I think it was about, I would say probably 4 days,
Mm,
but roughly 4 days, 3 or 4 days.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was very similar too. The shock, like I can't speak. I'm like, no, like that was for like 3 days for me. 3 to 4 days. I was just like totally out of it. Like so many things were running through my head.
Yeah. I literally went to the gym continuously to try and get the stress out.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I just like on March 16th before the service, like we were working actually on a song for Giving Glory.
Mm,
Yeah. On March 16th.
right.
And that was when it was confirmed for me what
Oh
was being
man.
said and so like while I was doing the song, I was like, I had to go outside and take a walk just because I
Right.
couldn't think straight and finish the song that we were gonna do.
Mm.
And then I had to hit the gym before the service just to get all the stress out
Hey, Julius.
of the shock. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, your head was like here. You look like a 4-year-old, but with the man's voice.
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
and you had like I'm just like
Sorry.
going, Julius, I'm having a hard time seeing you. He's like this 4-year-old little black kid, like, and I was having. It just looked funny. Yep, bring it even more so that there's only like a small space above your head. Like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You
There
want to
we
be
go.
like 3. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. You still look like a 4-year-old, by the way. Just want to let you know that.
Let me sit up.
So then you
Okay.
like so you basically worked out to take the stress out, and then how was your 316, like your performance?
We still did it. We still went ahead and did it,
Right.
and it was really great giving glory together. I think that brought everyone together during the craziness of everything, and it helped people focus on something positive when we did the song. That was the song, my ABCs, that think I
Mm,
released a while back. That was a song we did together. We recorded a church music video.
mm,
And yeah, I was really glad we followed through and did it because it was something that was really great in that kind of moment, the situation where all
mm.
that shock.
What about Chris? What about you? Like during that time, from the Netflix to the would you say like were you bothered by Netflix or no?
I was uh maybe, but I was much more shocked by Joan.
Mm,
I mean, and I heard that because I'm on my own here and I'm also distracted by my physical life. So
mm.
it was kind of like
You're distracted by your wife? What was it?
my physical life,
Oh, your physical. Okay, okay.
my job and everything.
Mm,
So it's like this thing that's popping up that's now taking center stage, and I'm also doing all these other things. And so, you know, I've got one eye on one thing, one eye on the other. But I kind of, when I first heard about it, I kind of scavenged to find anybody I knew anywhere who knew anything, and scouring the internet and
mm,
just trying to find any information I possibly can about the whole thing. And some
mm.
people are talking, and some people aren't talking. And so that's why I'm grateful that you do updates now, because I literally don't have to scour the internet anymore,
Mm.
because I know you're gonna do it for me. I don't have to do anything.
So it's for laziness, right? I'm doing this just for the lazy people out there.
And all I
But
need
you
to
know
do
what?
is
It's far better like energy used that one person does it instead of like 100 people all doing the exact same thing.
right, and you have the connections and the sources, so it's much better than me trying to.
When I first heard, like, I was my first thought was, oh, they've been doing this to AJ for a while now. Like, oh, they've been all been slandering her for a while, so I'm not surprised. I really didn't believe it. And the first person I called because I knew he was in Korea was Pajo, Pastor Joseph.
Really?
Yeah, he was there at the Lord's Whitestone Church listening to her. He was there.
Did he tell you anything? Because he didn't tell me anything.
Well, I said I was like, hey, I just listened to no, I was like, I'm hearing all these rumors and stuff. Were you? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, oh yeah, yeah. I was there. I was like, okay, okay. So, I listened to the 33-minute thing they posted up, but I didn't really get anything conclusive. And he's like, oh, it was after that. There was a 2 hours of more education. And then I wanted to be so 100%. I was like, did she say it? Did she 100%? She say it? He's like, well, she never said it. So even there, it brought me more skepticism because she never directly said he did it and he did. It was never like that. And he just told me that, well, she never said it, but
But it was
because
blatantly inferred.
blatantly inferred, he said. He's like, I know Korean, and the way she said it, it was yeah, she said it. And I was like, what? So that's why for me, even on MSD, I couldn't report it right away because I still wasn't sure. I'm like, really? Am I if I say this, I can't take this back. Right. And then it's gonna be slander on my website, like kind of that kind of thing. I was like, what? And yeah, I had people calling me like, hey, did you hear? Did you hear? I was like, are you sure? I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? Kind of thing, right? And it took me about 4 days to finally get everything like down. I talked to like 4 other head leaders. And I was like, is this right? Is this right? And they're like, yeah, this is crazy. And I was like, oh my good. And I just like I started calling my friends in Whitestone, but none of them responded back to me, and they still haven't responded back to me the last 5 months. So it's quite interesting. So yeah, I was in denial for at least 4 days, or at least heavily checking.
I guess I was trying to find a direction to go in,
Yeah,
to, I mean, we're always told what direction to go in and what
right,
to think about this or that. And in that situation, we kind of lost our second head,
right,
or the person who was in place of the head.
right.
So we were kind of without a leader.
Uh, what would you guys say that during the initial time, would you say your faith was shaken? Did you have any doubts, or like, I mean, about providence? Like, what were you thinking at that time?
Um, well, I think I'd already gone through my period of a long period already of uncertainty in terms of my faith. Is this true? And that was a lot of that was resolved during COVID when I really studied the word. I think I mentioned this a while back, but there was things that I just wasn't sure. But that work that I was inspired to do by the Holy Spirit during COVID, of really going deep into the word and understanding about history and history of God and seeing the realities that have happened in my life according to the during that period. All those realizations, I think, were groundwork to deal with this situation well in terms of faith. So it was not really the faith part, it was more of the shock. And I think also another reason for that was because it didn't make sense to me that in terms of the approach and the things that were done with Netflix and also what Pastor Jones said, and with the other things of like, studying another history, all that kind of stuff didn't make sense in terms of God's history, how God does things, and biblically. So because of that, it wasn't really a faith issue so much.
What about you, Chris?
I think for me, being on my own, because there's no support here or whatever, there were so many high-level leaders that I've known for over a decade that were shaken and also left. That was a shock on top of the shock. And so I guess, I don't know if, my faith maybe was a little shaken by that fact. Like, what is happening here? Because I've never, not even 2008, I came in 2008 to Providence, and all the leaders were standing strong. And this is the first time I actually saw like American leaders and leaders from around the world and leaders close to Joan and Joan herself, like kind of leave and default. And that was shocking to me. But once I got grounded, then nothing that happened henceforth after that really shook me.
What did you guys think about? Go ahead, Julius.
I was gonna say that's one of the things that I was really thankful for was I did not have those emotional ties with any of the, like most of the leaders that were affected or big people sounded, which I didn't know them that well, and I wasn't close. So I was not close to the chaos, I guess, and that aspect really helped because it would have been much harder. Let's say if I was in Whitestone, or if I was close to the leaders who left London. That made it easier being far away from the chaos.
That's true. But weren't you like in Australia, you guys are affected more because one of the accusers is from Australia, like in the trial right now.
Yeah, but I've met that person once. I've never known that person, and also knowing I kind of know how things were here and what the things that have been, how the churches are, how the people are. So there was kind of mismatch between things that were said and what their reality was. So it didn't click for me. It didn't match up for me.
Would you
like there were things that were inconsistent
for you, Chris? Because you and I are in a situation where we know the people who are coming against and stuff like that, right? Like we're talking about people we're really close to, like we know, especially when it comes to America and the people that were there accusing and such. So my question to you is, like, you have someone like you and I are both close to the exact same person, but were you able to talk to that person?
Okay, your hand. you're holding it like this, and sometimes it blurs out. I think you're
Oh,
giving the
sorry.
finger.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think?
I'm sorry, I was a little
Yeah.
distracted there. What was the question?
You're close to you said you had some ties with the people who are who are like
Yeah, yeah.
accusing and stuff and spreading rumors. What was it like? Did you get a chance to talk to them and such?
Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to talk directly to the people who left. I don't
Mm,
think I got a chance to talk to anybody who left. I think they kind of made a clean exit and, didn't let the door hit them on the way out.
did you how long was you said that you were kind of feeling like oh my gosh, how can these people who've been here for so long leave? How long did that affect you for?
I mean, that's been simmering for months, I guess. But it does, ever since the summer began, it hasn't really affected me. But for the first 2, 3 months,
Uh,
the Netflix was pretty horrific. I made myself watch it
right,
just so I can, explain to my family or somebody who's close to me. If
right.
they see a part of it, then I can be able to explain to them. But it's tough to stomach all the emotional music and stuff that they put in there to make the atmospheric effect of making sense and demonizing Sons of them.
Mm. Well, actually, Julius, remember I did like Netflix summaries, like I for in 1 week I did all three. Chris is actually the one that took all of it and made it into one video.
All right.
Yeah,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
yeah, he was kind of
Yeah,
like
I was
forward
very
thinking,
thankful
like,
for that.
yeah, me too. And
I thought that
that's
was a
been one of
pretty
the
important thing, and it needed to be
100%.
separated from the rest of Sky's podcast.
no, I thought it was really good because it's like one of the most watched videos on my podcast, which is great because we have like how many people? We have like 1,100 people subscribed to my channel, and I think the amount of people watched it is close to 2,000 like views of it. So I think it's good that people are watching it over and over and over again. Because it's if you
Yeah,
don't
and I
know
think
much,
it was very
go ahead.
one of the biggest values too was um if you didn't really necessarily want to see the like all the visuals and all the sounds and have that in your head, that was something that
Mm,
was very useful for that because you also, like Chris said, you also need to be able to have that conversation, maybe with family or friends, but you don't want to also have that stuff in your head, and
mm,
depending on the person. Like for myself, I'm very sensitive to visual, like just sensitive to stimuli. So I just didn't want to have to deal with like cleaning that up from my head and visuals. So
mm.
I wanted to know the information so that I'm informed in case my family watches it because they all have Netflix.
Mm.
So it was really, really useful.
Yeah, I think it was quite interesting just to I think that's one of the like people should be pretty wise because they should know themselves really well. And if they know themselves really well, then they should know, like you said, if you're affected by that type of stimuli or the music and all the atmosphere coming in, like people are affected by those things. And I don't know if you guys have heard of the movie Sound of Freedom. Like Sound of Freedom is like a new movie that came out now, so about like child sex trafficking. And that's supposed to be like pretty, like it doesn't show anything, but just what it insinuates is so traumatic. Like you need to be emotionally ready to watch that movie. Like I don't know if you really have to see it to know how bad it is, like child sex trafficking and stuff, right? Because it
Mm.
can traumatize people if you see that type of thing going on, like you actually see the thing going on. So I think it's smart that a lot of people like I know one thing that I thought wasn't fair is when people say you have to watch it because if you haven't watched it, it means that it means that you're just brainwashed and you don't. I was like, no, I think it's true. Like sometimes people are going to get affected by what they see, and if it's portrayed in the wrong way, you can't unsee it, right?
Yeah.
There's some people who don't need to see it. Like my wife, she doesn't look at, since she came to Providence, she's never looked at any slander at
Right,
all. She just doesn't care.
right.
And I'm all for it. I mean, I'm more of a teaching mind. Like, if somebody does look at it, I'm going to need to explain it to them. But
Right. I think it's really important. What do you think is what was the thing that helped you guys to like fully overcome it? Like and just say, all right, this is back to normal. Like everything's back to normal now.
I think it started with headquarters. I mean, when the church itself gets grounded and leaders step up to fill certain
Mm,
positions and they calm the rest of the church down and they make official statements, we're all waiting for that. Like I'm frantically trying to like scour the internet and listen to rumors and figure out what's going on
mm,
and waiting for that official statement. And then when it comes, then you can finally like breathe and like here's the official statement, here's what's going on, and this is the
mm,
direction we're headed in. We have Joan, she's gone, but we have new leaders in her stead, and it's gonna be difficult, but we're gonna, steer, keep moving on ahead.
mm. What about you, Julius? What was the thing
I
that
think that
helped you to overcome?
for me, having the facts of what happened and
Mm,
what's the situation and what approaches are being taken by Providence and also the other side, like just the full information. This and this what happened. This was not good on our side, for example, and but this is reality, like of actually what's happening. And so knowing and understanding these things, like for example, um, the the fact that let's say these accusations were thrown out of court are being used in the original Netflix documentary,
mm,
even though they were already thrown out of court. And just understanding in reality what's happening
mm,
um, was very useful because in the moment it's kind of like it's all insinuation, it's all rumors, and it's all he said, she said,
mm,
um, and there's so many holes, so you just speculate, and it's just like whatever you can imagine in your head, and then that's kind of unstable
mm,
because you can't really make any decisions. Yeah. So even though like for me, then the Netflix wasn't really something that was putting doubt in my mind. It's
mm,
just important to understand uh, what's happening, what's causing people to react in this certain way, and or what are the why is it incorrect? Yeah.
mm.
Or why is it
This
true? Yeah. Yeah. Because yeah.
I have an interesting question for you guys, and this like everyone out there in the audience. The reason why I'm bringing up this topic is just I was telling the guys right before this that my channel is like 76% females. So females generally kind of think a certain way, and they're affected in a certain way, whether it's emotional or whatever it is. Like I'm saying in a very generalized sense, but I think it's good for people to know how guys take this stuff in too. Like, why are guys less affected by this than girls? Like, I think we can safely assume
Are
that there are,
are we less affected?
yeah, my assumption, the reason why I bring this assumption is because there's far more girls that leave than guys.
Was that true?
Yeah. Like, if you look at even like, let's take a look at like the people who are accusing and slandering. If I just look at the Western countries, it's like one guy and like six girls that are doing all the work. And then when I
Okay.
look, when you kind of look at, and this is something I'm going to ask you guys is when you look at your churches or you look at when you talk to people, who is affected more? Do you think more the guys were affected, more the girls were affected? And this is not to compare to say we're better than the other. It's just how these things affect the different sides.
Me personally, knowing people who left, I think it was 50-50. Just the people in my circle that I knew, that I've talked to, I had relationships with, I think it was 50% guys, 50% girls who I knew. So that's why I was asking if it really is the case that a lot more females left than guys did.
It's it's the same I would say it's the same for us, particularly in our side of the just speaking for our church. Yeah, the people that I know, it seemed to have more or less the same impact on both.
Yeah, just for just the people I know, majority. But I think something that I do need to take into consideration is we do have way more girls than guys.
Right, I was going to bring up the ratio.
Yeah, the ratio is we do have way more girls than guys. But I would, well, could we go into, like, when you look at even the people who are accusing, well, they're all girls, right? You can't help it because there's nothing with guys to guys. Like, there's not a single guy unless Chris does his Provicom and talks about his experiences. there's just nothing happened with guys. There's nothing happening with guys. It's all in the girls' end, right? So what would you think?
Tried when I went to Wilmington and I saw Sunstein. I mean, I was wearing low cut t-shirts, and the top buttons undone. I was wearing like these short shorts like Darren Myers likes to wear, I was really putting myself out there expecting something because I want that money.
But something didn't bite, you're telling me? Something didn't bite, right?
No, it didn't bite.
It's for me, it's like I'm trying to think of things more spiritually than I do look at them physically. Do you know what I mean? Because one thing Sunstein did say is he's like, it's once again, it's the Eves that are tempted first, right? It was the Eves and then the Adams, right? So one thing Sunstein did say in the message is Satan tempts Eves so the Eves can tempt the man. Which I found very interesting. Yeah,
I brought up that question to you. Yeah, just because I just like it was out of the blue to me. Like I did not expect. Like I never thought about that in that way. But yeah, it just was something very curious that came out in the message. I just never thought of.
But it's like basically like it's telling us, like Sunstein is telling us that Satan's like he's aiming for the girls. That's what he's essentially saying, is like he's going for them first.
Yeah. And I was wondering, is it because they're more spiritually sensitive compared to guys? So that like guys are not as receptive to spiritual things?
Like maybe we just like if I were to take a look at the three of us when we talk about our experience with what happened in March, it's interesting because everything comes down to logic. Well, this didn't make sense. That didn't make sense. Huh?
Women are illogical. Women are illogical.
No, that's not illogical. I just think that they're more heightened with emotional things, or they're more like their empathy is much higher. They can feel things much better in general.
Yeah, I think like also the nature of the accusations are not as sensitive. They're not as sensitive to guys than they are to girls, I think.
Yeah, just no, you're right.
Yeah, just feeling. Yeah, because if like if something makes you angry or something changes your state of feeling, it does
Mm,
change how you think about something or how you perceive something, how you see
mm,
a particular situation, depending on whether you're happy or sad for anyone,
right.
or angry or hurt. Yeah. So anything that changes your emotional state will change also how you think about the same thing,
And I
even if you're
think
looking at
me,
the same thing.
because when I talked to some of the girls, one of the things they did point out is like in America, there's an accusation about a minor, right? And
Mm.
like it was way more emotional for the woman than the men. Like for me, actually, just me. Where they're like,
Okay.
it's a minor. I was like, but we don't know it's true yet. That's kind of like in my head is like, yeah, we don't know it's true. They're like, no, you don't get it. I'm like, no, I understand what a minor is, right? It's just this weight. But they're like, no, I can't believe. I'm like, well, you don't know it's true yet. Like I just see it in a very logical and less emotional state where I'm just like, oh well, yeah, it's that is what they're saying, but I don't know if it's true. Like even for me, I had the mother call me directly to tell me what was
Oh,
going on. Yeah.
right.
And uh I had to cut them off. I had to cut the mother off. Like eventually, because it became too emotional. Like, oh, and then it was like this, and then oh, then something seemed. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, I got it. It's fine. We can stop here though. I need some time to digest this kind of thing. But it became more of an emotional like plea to me, more than like here's the facts. I'm stating the facts to you. That's why I had to cut it off. And this was like in the late December, early January. I'm like, what? Okay. And then they're like going like more emotionally into it. And I had to stop it. Like, okay, let's stop here. And I just found it like it was very with some of the guys I talk to don't bring up it's a minor, but the girls bring it up, which was interesting for me.
What are they trying to imply?
Because well, I don't like it's implying that it's more
Like because
horrible.
it's a minor,
Yeah, it's a
if
much
it was,
terrible thing.
oh,
So it
okay.
must be. It almost felt like because it's a minor, it must be true. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah, that
like
like
that,
that
like a
was the
minor
feeling.
wouldn't make it up.
Yeah, yeah. And I was in my head, I'm
Okay.
like, teenagers would have more chances of making it up. Like, or like it's not even less or even more. I just think it's very there's plenty of reasons to lie. Plenty of reasons. And I just
Hmm.
couldn't sit there and just say, oh, it's true because you told me.
Yeah, like that doesn't like the case needs to play out in court, whatever it is. It's just there's no other way to do it.
Yeah,
I just don't
but then
understand how else you can do it or think
but
about it
if,
because
if we
it
get
can
too
ruin somebody's
logical,
life.
yeah, but if you get too logical, another problem will happen is like say the first trial. I was like, if you just say let's wait for the trial, then if you say it that way, then you have no choice but to believe whatever the verdict is.
Well, I'm speaking generally in terms of cases because yes, there's situations too where even people get convicted and then later on they find that oh, their evidence was actually incorrect and that person
Right.
was convicted on a false charges. So mistakes are made, but I just all I'm saying is like in general for any kind of cases like guilty until innocent until proven guilty has to be stance taken.
What about you, Chris? What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, like Julius said, I mean, it's a safe stance to not say anything about either party. And I mean, being in Providence, obviously, we're not going to side with whatever the court rules, but they're going to make their ruling, and we're going to always side with Sunsenham no matter what. And you know, if we prejudge the convictors, then the accusers, then we kind of look bad ourselves because of especially the day and age that we're in. And, you know, if you accuse a female of lying or whatever, then you're just going to get thrown under the bus and backed over and then run over and then backed over again.
Mm.
So it's a safe stance to just say, wait till everything plays out.
Mm.
And, we side with Sunson no matter what.
I
But
think it's
I'm really
yeah, go
proud
ahead.
of Providence. I'm really proud of Providence. This go around. I mean, it took a little bit, but with all the protests and everything, and just all the videos that come out every day, especially that one guy that's not even in Providence making
Mm.
videos,
Yeah.
like those are just like godsends. And we didn't really have a fighting chance in 2008, but it feels like, I mean, even if we don't have a fighting chance this time, it just feels like we have a much better stance, even though we were backed into a corner
Mm.
this time, this go around, and now we're stepping out, and Providence people are coming out of the closet,
Mm.
and you know, showing our true colors and showing people. And I think it's what I've always wanted out of Providence, and we've always just been closeted, and
Mm.
now we're kind of forced out into the open, and it makes me proud of I want to wave my pride flag for Providence.
Oh, it was getting really moving and deep until you went into that. Yeah, I'm thinking the
Every
exact
color
same
of the
thing.
rainbow.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, for the three of us, our flag, what colors would we have? We'd have white, black, and yellow, right? That's our flag for this man cave today. Yeah, I was agreeing. Like one thing I think people could misunderstand is when we say like, "Hey, we're on Sunstream side no matter what," and then people will listen to it and like totally be like, "You see, you're biased. You're so biased. This, and this, right?" And when I look at it, uh, if I look at like what happened like 2,000 years ago, I don't think it'd be any different. Like they're 100% on Jesus' side no matter what. And it's not because they're blind. It's because they have enough, they've seen enough and they've heard enough to know it's the history of God. Like it's not blind.
Actually, and that's
Mm.
and can I just interject with that? And that's what I was thinking in my head as the number one question. That's to be the number one question for everyone.
Mm.
First and foremost, is is this the history of God? And then is this uh the man of mission sent? Is the word that is spoken the word of God? Because after that, then it's everything else. Like once you have enough evidence for that, because God, first of all, like when God is working through the Messiah is not at that level where Satan can influence that
Mm.
him. And um and it can be true that as the word that Samson is preached until now has been the word that it like Jesus' second coming. That can be true. At the same time, these other accusations
Mm.
are true that he did these things. But it just that can't happen with God's history and the Messiah.
Mm.
And so I think that's the fundamental question to answer for yourself. Then in that situation, it's different because Jesus
Right.
was convicted, like you said, and he was crucified. And um, I, you could say that the evidence in their perception that time was enough for
Right.
them to convict him and give him that kind of horrible sentence. But
Right.
we know that it was unjust. It's unjust. We know clearly it's unjust now, but also obviously are always on his side. No matter what things that come out, we're not going to consider them.
We're talking right now like the disciples were never shaken though, but they were.
Mm. But they were shaken, but then they were brought back when Jesus resurrected, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then regardless of what happened, like I think it wouldn't be any different than what happened 2008, and then 2009 we started the Holy Spirit movement to gather our hearts together again. For like we did
Yeah.
that for years, yeah, and then we kind of strengthened ourselves again where it didn't matter anymore, and we just started setting crazy conditions and stuff. I have a question for you guys. Just your thoughts on this because we know what happened to AJ and she left and stuff like that. My question to you guys is about her being the restored Eve. So how
Eve never gets restored. She always fails.
well, that's the thing. So we're kind of like she's supposed to be the restored Eve, and then the rapture happened, and she's the one that did the other side where there's a restored Eve and a restored Adam, and then the rapture happened on 316, right? But then now that this happens, it kind of, I think some people are thinking about, whoa, wait, but aren't you like, didn't she reach the level where she couldn't leave?
Is she the restored Eve or John the Baptist? I'm confused.
She's a restored Eve. Yeah, it was said in March 16th, 2015. She's a restored Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't then from then on I didn't understand what restored Eve meant. I I wasn't sure anymore.
Hmm.
This is
Because
just
yeah,
proof
originally
that
I thought, yeah,
this is just proof that nobody's safe and we all have to check ourselves and go into the end.
What
yeah.
do you think so what do you think is what do you think the reason is? Like why do you think what could make someone at that level leave? Just personal thoughts right now. I'm not sitting there like, oh, I have the answer. You know what I mean?
My personal opinion is I think she
Oh
ran so
no.
hard
Uh,
and so fast for so long that she just got burnt out.
what about you, Julius?
Yeah, I think that yeah, she went through so much pain, and in a moment of weakness, Satan got a hold of her, and she uh um, and yeah, just but like you said, Chris, ran so hard and went through a lot of pain and had a moment of weakness and got caught by Satan.
So when you say having a moment of weakness, it basically means that the moment of weakness it can mean a umpteen amount of things, but maybe like there came a point where she wasn't connected or she wasn't as spiritual as she should be because she was burnt out or something. Remember, these are just what personal thoughts are. There's nothing, we're not saying this is actually what happened, right? So everyone out in the audience, we're not saying this happened. We're just trying to like going through our thoughts like, man, how could this actually happen?
Well, my general opinion of people who have been in Providence for a very, very long time and then leave is that they devote so much to spirituality for so long that when they finally get old and they look in the mirror, they're like, what have I accomplished on this earth?
You talking
I
about
have
me?
nothing.
You're like reading into my heart like I'm like made of glass.
I wasn't even thinking about you, but if you want to take it for yourself, you can. But they some of these leaders, they run so hard and they sacrifice so much that uh, you know even as I get older, I and I've lived both a physical and spiritual life, maybe tilted more towards the physical side, but I'm like, I really wish I spent more time doing spiritual things. And I kind of regret, but for the spiritual person, they might have the opposite. They're like, I really wish I would have, made money in my 30s or when it was my prime time to do so that I could be in a better position physically than I am now.
Mm.
And, I spent so much time on this history, and now someone's in this situation. And so then they feel all that burden and then leave.
Mm.
But
If I were to give you some insights on what I was thinking, I never thought about it until I stopped running.
uh,
Yeah, it doesn't come to my mind like when I'm not sitting there like going, what have I done with my life? But it's only when I step down and I didn't have another mission for a while is where the thoughts start creeping in. Like, like I can even think about like a certain point is like I'm like 44 years old and I'm living with my parents. You know what I mean? It's kind of in your head, like what? Like what is going on? Like God, you're supposed
you
to take
love it.
care of me.
You love it.
Okay, well, that's different. That's a completely different subject, right? It's completely different. I didn't realize how much I loved it until I started living here. But before that, yeah, I think it does come into like you're right. You run so much spiritually, and you think you're supposed to take care of you, but you have nothing to show for it, physically speaking. But you have so much to show for it, spiritually. You have so much spiritually to show for it, but you
But
just can't see
you
it.
can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially
but
especially when especially if you become physical for
Yeah.
just a second, then all the merits that you've built up, you can't see any of it. You're just like, I got nothing.
Mm.
that was a question I was gonna have is like, yeah, do you sometimes feel that all those spiritual things, like you forget that they have value? Like in a moment you're like, oh, is it like all these things that I've done,
Have you watched
have any.
a television show called Married with Children? I know Chris has probably seen it, but Julius, have you seen it? So basically, it's like this
Mm,
high school quarterback has a school record of like throwing 4 touchdowns in a single game in high school. And like that's his glory days. He talks about the past, like, oh, back in high school, which was like 30 years ago, he was this great quarterback in high school. And I'm a guy, so as a guy, I don't like to be talking about my past because you think you're like an Al Bundy, like someone who's stuck in the past thinking like, oh, back then I did this, but then you have nothing to show
mm,
right now. So I don't like, I look at it as the past is past and I can't use that to do anything.
okay.
That's my feeling.
You're
That's just
always
my feeling.
looking forward.
Yeah. Like
You're
what
always
am I
looking
doing
forward to
now?
something new.
Yeah.
Right.
And then what if I'm not doing anything, then I feel kind of like I am not uh I'm not adding value or worth to the history, if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so then Chris said the opposite. Chris said he's been doing so much, he's more like physical work and he has to work, do all these things. He has like a lot of physical things. Like he says he feels kind of regret, like I should have done more spiritually.
Hmm.
And now, Julius, you're still in school, right?
Not, I'm 5 years into working now.
Oh, you're finding, oh, you're engineer, everything else. So you ever think that those thoughts too, or no?
Um, I did actually. That's actually why in COVID I invested a lot spiritually. Like I felt like during my uni days, I didn't, and actually during my career when I started working, I tried to invest a lot spiritually because I felt like I didn't do that in my earlier days in Providence. So yeah, I did feel like that, and I've been trying to make up for it.
Hmm.
Yeah, while
I,
I started working. Yeah.
I have an interesting question for you guys because you guys are working and I'm like full time. I did full time Providence and stuff. What is your view, or how do you look at your leaders when you see them? What are you thinking? Like, how do you view them? Like, is this like absolute respect, or is it like you're like, why don't you do more? Or like, there's like thoughts that
I
people have when they look at
feel,
leaders.
I mean, Pastor Gabe's my leader, so I have to think of him when I say this. but
Uh,
but I feel
Just give
absolute
me a moment. I'm
respect
gonna grab my charger.
sure, sure.
because he's been running for so long and he just does nothing but teach and lecture and manage the church, and he's given up so many physical. I mean, he had a good job and everything, so he's given up so much to do that. So I feel a lot of respect, and I also feel a pinch of pity, maybe more than a pinch, a tablespoon, because because he runs so hard, and I feel bad because like you were saying, in Korea they take care of the leaders
Mm,
more. I feel that he should be taken care of more than, because he's kind of on his own. He
mm,
even has to work a part-time job to make up his income. I'm assuming that's why he works a part-time job. Maybe he
mm,
just does it for fun, or I don't know,
mm.
to mingle with real people in the real world. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for Providence pastors, but I also pity them because they should have more than they do,
Mm.
physically
Yeah,
speaking.
physically, I think that is something that from the leaders I've talked to and such is that's the thing that uh it sometimes can bring resentment. Like after all that you've done, and then you're kind of put aside, and then the new leaders come in, and then you're kind of in your 40s and you have to start a job at that point.
I mean, some people, and I'm thinking of a few people in New York. They have either missions in headquarters or leadership, and they actually have like high level degrees and really
Mm,
good paying jobs as well.
mm,
So they kind of, I mean, they run really hard in Providence. So I don't even know how they have another job, but they
right.
also hold down a good physical job as well. So they're kind of balanced in that way. But if you don't have that, then it can,
Do you think that's considered balanced? Like as a full-time, like if you're running like as a head leader of a church, do you think that would be balanced if they had a full-time good paying job plus they were a head leader?
I think it's a good cocktail for burnout, but they have, I don't think, if I was in their shoes, I don't think I would feel like I was lacking in the physical realm if I was making good money and had a good job. Granted, I wouldn't have time to use all the money that I'm making and like
Mm,
have fun, but I would know that I would feel a sense of security that it was there and that
right.
I was making good money.
Yeah, for myself, I think there's one time in my life I did have a full-time job. It was more than full-time. It was close to 70 hours a week, Monday to Saturday. And I would go to pre-dawn, straight from pre-dawn and go straight to work. I come back home by 7. Or I'd be come to church at 7 to lecture, and I did it Monday to Saturday. And then Sundays I would preach, and Sunday would be my only day off. And I did that for like 3 months straight. And eventually I was like, I can't do this. Like this is impossible. And I couldn't do I couldn't even do my spiritual job properly. I was exhausted in the mornings and stuff too. Julius, you're back?
Back.
Yeah, we the question I gave to Chris was what are your thoughts and your feelings towards leaders, like full-time running like church leaders?
Uh, Personally, I have a lot of appreciation and respect. Um, because to me, my perception of that role is that it's like it's the biggest responsibility ever because you're in charge of taking care of the spirits of people
Right.
like, eternally. And it's such a huge responsibility, which means you always have to uh, live at a certain level spiritually in order to be able to do that. And you have to
Mm,
maintain it. You can't go down because then everyone goes down. And and you have to be able to do that mentally, just the energy and emotionally to do that is a lot.
Mm. Do,
It's a very different role. And so you do have to really give of yourself. And so I appreciate it a lot. And that's,
how necessary do you think it is for, say, a head leader and such? Like, how comfortable should they be in the physical life?
comfortable.
Yeah.
I
Nah,
think,
probably not as
the,
comfortable as Pastor Sky.
Uh,
That's probably the apex, the
yeah,
pinnacle of comfort right there.
on vacation, they should be as comfortable as
I
possible
don't I
on
don't think
vacation.
my head leader should be living in their parents' basement.
I don't live in the basement.
I bet you Pastor Scott's laundry is really clean right now.
Yeah, it's
It's already
fresh,
done.
just got done. It's really interesting because I don't know what happens. I have this magic laundry basket. I put it there, and all of a sudden it's gone, and it's like fresh and folded the next day. I don't know. It's a magic basket. I don't know what's happening there. It's just amazing. You guys got to get one of these.
I got one of those too.
Oh God, yeah. This is great. Yeah, no, I thought that was a really, really good and interesting point how you were talking about the exact opposite thoughts I was thinking, where you're like, I've been doing so many physical things and I regret and I wish I did more spiritual things. And I'm on the flip side, like I put everything spiritually, and then now what am I left with physically?
Well, some of the thoughts that I've been having recently actually are like actually God, like one of my wife and I's dreams was to buy a camper, like a camper trailer. And I thought this was going to be years down the road because we didn't have enough money, but I found one at the perfect price and we got one. And like
Wow.
I was just thinking like God has blessed us with so many physical things and I'm so taken care of. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do with all this? I can't take any of this with me. Like if I die today, none of this is coming with me. And
Mm,
I need to really build up more spiritual merit because I can't take any of this merit with me to heaven and use it
mm.
as collateral. I need spiritual merit for that. So those are my
Well,
depressing thoughts. Thank you for
well,
joining.
just as you talk about buying a new camper.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
bought my Mercedes-Benz S-Class, and I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do? I can't take this with me to heaven. And my Lambo, like I just got enough to buy my Lambo, and like, oh my goodness, will I even have a Lambo in heaven? Gosh.
Yeah. I'm like, God, why'd you give this to me? I can't take this with me.
And Pastor Sky's like, I don't even have a house. I don't even have a place to stay. Yeah, I got my third house and then a new camper. So I can now sleep anywhere I want in everywhere I travel.
Don't worry, Pastor Sky. I'm contributing $3 a month to Patreon.
Oh my gosh. You know what, bro? In like 73 years, I'm going to buy my camper.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Either way. Yeah,
uh,
we've been going on for like an hour and 10, 15 minutes already. Surprisingly. Yeah, a lot of interesting topics, but yeah, I hope you guys have any other like last thoughts you want to add?
Time flies when you're discussing about sexual assault and
Good gosh. Time flies. Time flies when you're talking about being broke.
let's have that as the title.
Let's do that. Time flies when you're broke. When you're talking about being broke, that'll be the title for today's podcast. But yeah, thanks guys for just for joining in today. There's a lot of different things we're talking about. I'd love to hear you guys' comments on either of the subjects that we're talking about. See what your thoughts are too. But I guess this is it. This is the end of today's podcast. Hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys again next week on Man Cave. Bye bye.